Good morning, everyone. This is Julie McDonald with Microcom Technologies, and I'd like to thank all of you for attending today's webinar with Aruba Instant On. Today's host is our very good friend, Reggie Johnson, and he is their systems in North America, and he'll be presenting today. If anyone has any questions, please submit them in the question box, and Reggie will be able to answer at the end of today's presentation. Reggie, thank you so much for being with us today. We greatly appreciate your time and looking forward to what you have to share with us today. Thank you again, and please go ahead and take it on over.
Will do. Great. Thanks a lot, Julie. You always give the best introductions. Hi, guys. I hope everybody's having a great Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. Hopefully you're giving love and getting love as well. So as Julie said, so I want to give you guys an update on kind of what's happening with Aruba, what's going on with the portfolio, some of our updates and latest additions. So I'll start off by talking a little bit about the latest release update, which is 2.9 and some of the things that we've added there. You guys know we're always making enhancements to the product in order to have it be a better fit or a better solution for customers. I want to give you guys a quick market overview. And then I'm going to talk about some of the new products that we're actually bringing available with this new release of 2.9. One's the AP21. The AP22D, I actually spoke up last time. We actually did a relaunch of that. It kind of got pulled back for a while. We're relaunching it. So I'll give you guys a quick refresher on that. And then we'll talk about our AP32. And then probably do another quick review on the 1960 Smart Rate switch. I know a lot of you guys are familiar with Smart Rate. It's also referred to as multi-gig. So as we move forward with the new technology of Wi-Fi 6 and 6E, right, we're needing more throughput to be supported on the switch. And there's a 1960 switch that supports that I also talked about last time. Then I'll do a quick cover of our warranty and support options, and then Julie will help me out with the Q&A. So in our Instant On release version 2.9, we've got some new features. So we've now, with enhanced software upgrade flexibility, we've increased the amount of delay time that customers can have up to 4 weeks. So normally there's a date in which it's released. You can actually go in and select it up to, actually, I think more specifically is 30 days. You can actually pick it, that as being the furthest date out before the firmware upgrade automatically takes place. And some customers, it varied. We've increased it over time. It used to be 1 week, then it was 2 weeks, and now we've moved it to 4 weeks. Some customers don't like to do those upgrades and don't like for those upgrades to happen right away. So we've managed to give you some flexibility with that. But after that 30 days, then of course it's definitely going to happen. We have control of that. There's something called a PoE scheduler enhancement, where we're able to schedule bulk assignments of the PoE scheduler on those particular ports as to whether or not power is available or not available. Some customers use this as kind of a security feature so that they can shut their APs off at a specific time, perhaps every day. You can now do that bulk assignment across multiple ports. For a long time, you had to go to each individual port and do it. Transceiver support enhancement, something that actually shows up in the interface that actually shows that specific transceiver supported, that is unsupported but working, and then there's another option for just incompatible and faulty transceiver in which support shows up in red. We no longer have the Facebook Wi-Fi service available. The portal's no longer available. That's because of something to do with Facebook, not with us. So we actually removed that from our interface. And now we've got a new setting where we can allow clients up to 10 per port and set that across up to 10 ports on each switch. That's been an enhancement. It used to be only on one port. So that's been enhanced, and that's not applicable on our 1830 and our 11D product, which also has a switch built into it. This is only on the 1930 and 1960s. And then, of course, there's some new hardware support, and I'm going to talk to you guys about some of that. So as you guys know, I've talked about this many times because I always like to brag about how well we do with our product. We've been winners of the annual report card from CRN for like 5 of the last 6 years. And, as I talked about all these enhancements and things that we're doing, you can kind of see some of these categories are kind of specific to that: product technical innovation, general product innovation, right? We've been the winners in that category. And I think you'll see that even more as I go in and I talk about these new products that we're bringing available right now and what they offer to the marketplace and to our customers. So you guys know, also, I like to always talk about some of the small business trends and just really kind of provide a market overview. Talked about this one before. 79% of the SMBs agree that the right tech solutions can improve their business, especially particularly during uncertain times. Think back to the pandemic. A lot of actually SMBs really benefited from the opportunity to use some of the latest tech, and Instant On was a big part of that, especially when we had the old work from home type of environment. We got a chance to showcase some of our capabilities by having a kids network and like an adult working network at home and being able to block specific types of applications, et cetera. So that ended up being a huge driver and a trend that's continued. 69% of customers are likely to purchase a cloud solution when they're purchasing new software as well as hardware. Everybody's become really comfortable with using the cloud. 30% of the SMBs are prioritizing financial management of subscriptions, meaning they don't want them. We're really tough. We've kind of targeted, if not unless they absolutely have to, right? Obviously, if there's no other option, but they try. Most customers, particularly small business customers, are trying to stay away from subscription based. There's so many things out there that are subscription based. It seems like everybody's trying to get our money, right? And then 42% are purchasing laptops and desktops outside the traditional refresh cycle because the technology is demanding it. We've got they want to have the latest tech, the fastest tech, the best tech. And so this is requiring some upgrades outside the traditional cycle. So one of those things happens to be that some of the trends around Wi-Fi and the opportunity with something like Wi-Fi 6, right? So Wi-Fi 6 shipments, with devices is actually increased, and they expect it to be 2.5 billion by 2025. And you see how big the market is there for Wi-Fi 6. It's actually $105 billion by 2028 is what they're expecting. And then you're continuously seeing new products come out, whether or not it's from Apple with their new iPhone 15, it's actually supporting Wi-Fi 6E. And then Samsung's kind of doing the same thing with some of their latest. So you're kind of seeing this across the board, right? And if you're not familiar with the primary differences between Wi-Fi 6 and 6E, I'll talk a little bit about that during the presentation. And then, with all diversity of applications, you think about AR, VR. I know Apple just came out with their new VR headset, really expensive. I'm more of a Meta Quest guy. I've actually had that for years. But these things are demanding more network throughput and support for some of these latest technologies. Now, I was actually surprised that the new Apple product does not support 6E. It does support Wi-Fi 6, but did not have support for 6E. So that was a little bit shocking there. And then, because of all these things, right, users have a higher expectations, right? Low tolerance for poor network performance. We've all gotten spoiled with really quick internet connectivity, right? But Wi-Fi 6 has reached 50% market adoption, which is much faster than any of the other previous generations. So because of Wi-Fi 6, and then now I'm also hearing talks out there of Wi-Fi 7 adoption, that means we need, there's more of a demand for faster Ethernet ports, right? So I talked to you guys last time about our 1960 smart rate switch. This is actually what's driving that. And I can always think back to, if I go back to, I won't say how long ago, but I'll just say years ago when we were kind of making that transition and wireless got faster than that 100 megabit connection that we used to have on our switches, right, and our edge devices. And when that happened, I had numerous calls where I had customers that couldn't understand why they had such poor network performance, and they had Wi-Fi connectivity that was 300 or 400 megabits per second trying to go through a 1 gigabit or 10 gigabit connection on the switch. Caused a lot of problems there. So we want to avoid that. And I think we're much more knowledgeable today and understand that, hey, with where we're going with these Wi-Fi speeds, we need these ports with more throughput capability, right? And that's where that 1960 switch came in that I talked about. It's got, 4 2.5 gig ports on it. It also has support for 480 watts of PoE. So as we also are increasing the wireless speed and capability of these devices, right, there's also the need for more power for some of the more advanced or larger Wi-Fi 6 devices and soon to be Wi-Fi 7. They're going to require more power in addition to things such as lighting, security cameras, etc., that are starting to require beyond that what used to be 15 watts or 30 watts or 60 watts now. Now we're talking about 60 watts and 90 watt types of devices that are out there. So there's support for some of that capability as well. The rest of the ports on here are 1 gig, the regular Ethernet ports. Then we got 2 10 gig ports, and then there's also 2 10 gig fiber port options, right? So transceiver options there. So. And then I talked about some of the benefits, just kind of a quick refresher on the 1960. Talked about, it being cloud managed as well, because it could be locally managed and how these can be stacked up to 4 in a stack, and you can mix and match these within the different models. I talked about the luggage tags before, where it keeps you from having to go around the back of the switch, right? If it's in a rack to see what the serial number is, you can just simply pull out the little luggage tag. You can't see it here on this picture. It would actually be over on the left, but it's just a little orange tag that pulls out so you can see all the primary information there. And then this particular model actually is also a fanless design. So, being that there's a possibility that it could be sitting on somebody's desktop, a lot of times that subtle noise actually can be real noisy to some people. So this is a fanless design where you don't, so that customers don't have to deal with that noise. So if you look at the Instant-On networking solution portfolio, so we've got our traditional APs and switches, which I just kind of talked about a couple of models of those. And then the capabilities. I'm not going to go rehash this. You guys are very familiar with the product set, but that single pane of glass for management for both our switches and our access points, as well as managed firmware updates, which we talked about earlier. As I said, we just migrated to 2.9. Common workflow, so that I set a configuration on an access point, it automatically gets deployed to the switches. You can have a topology view of your particular environment within that single pane of glass interface, and there's the ability for remote management, right, for these devices as well. So if you have a customer that has multiple sites, like a dentist office or a doctor's office, there's the ability to manage all those sites from that single pane of glass. And then there are also some other products such as our 1430. That's an unmanaged switch that can't be managed in the cloud like the other products that we have, but sometimes it's a fit for customers that maybe have a really small environment. You can still plug an access point into that, which can be managed in the cloud. You just can't actually see that 1430 switch in the cloud. So let's talk a little bit about our new, and notice, I didn't mention this earlier, but I meant to mention this. So you guys are probably going to see kind of some mixed branding efforts going forward. We're really renaming, I guess, this particular product set. It's going to be referred to as the HPE networking Instant-On access points. So if you notice, when you look at these, they're not going to have Aruba on there. They're going to have our square, or our rectangle, I should say, like you see down here on the left on the APs. And it's going to be referred to as the HPE networking Instant-On products. So the access points I want to talk about with you today are the AP21, the AP22D, quick refresher on that one we talked about last time, and the AP32. So if you look at our portfolio, and I know you guys have heard me talk about this quite a bit over the years, so you've got the AP 11, 12, 15, 11D, and 17. Those are traditional Wi-Fi 5 access points, and we're still continue to offer offer those. At some point, we'll end of life those. But there are some small business customers that just don't have a desire to migrate to the latest, greatest yet, and they want to keep buying what they've been buying. So we're giving them that ability to do that right now. But if you look up top at everything that's branded new on it, you've got our AP21. This is a lower cost option than the AP22, and I'll get into a little bit more of the specifics on another slide there. But it's a lower cost option. So think about maybe I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but maybe a small suite, right, that I'm looking for. A studio, that's what I'm thinking about, a studio apartment, or maybe a small business that only needs 1 or 2 access points, but really looking for a low-cost option. That's Wi-Fi 6, right, the latest technology. That's going to be a good fit there. The AP32, this is actually going to support Wi-Fi 6E, right, as well as Wi-Fi 6. And I'll talk about how it does that, some of the flexibility that it provides in order to be able to do that, and how we go about setting that up. And then there's the AP22D, which I talked about last time. This is our desktop hospitality type access point. It'll fit in like a conference room. Maybe it'll go in like a boutique hotel, or maybe a doctor's office or dentist office or something like that, maybe for the front area where the clients are residing. So, and continue. So this is a great slide. This is more of a reference slide for you guys. I talked about some of the places where the various products fit. So the AP21, you think about home networks or small spaces, right? And this actually also shows like the number of recommended active clients, right, that are supported per AP. So it's still, even though this is our low cost option, it's still support for up to 50 clients per AP. That's actually quite a few. And then the AP32, again, for our modern offices. All of these are 2x2 as you go through the AP21, the AP22, and the AP32. They're all 2x2x2, right? So 2 transmitters, 2 receivers, 2 spatial streams. And then once you move up to the AP25, it's still our highest density access point, even though it's just Wi-Fi 6E, but it's a 4x4, right? So spatial stream type of device. And then there's the AP22D, and we'll get into some of the specifics around what's supported there, because remember, in addition to it being a unique design and going on the desktop, it also has some additional Ethernet ports. And I want to talk about some of the capabilities that it provides with those. So the AP21, again, 2x2 Wi-Fi low-cost indoor AP option. We basically came out with this product to compete. Now, by the way, I know our AP22, it's still our #1 seller, and it's still, to be honest, the product that I'll probably lead with to pitch. But for customers that really want a low-cost option that's also a 2x2, this only has a 1 gig uplink on it. Typically, you aren't going to have a ton of bandwidth coming through this for the type of environment that it's supposed to go in. Supports it can be powered via 802.3 AF power, so the 15-watt power standard, or can be plugged in. Again, think about small retail stores, smaller deployments, right? Now, a couple of unique things here with this product is there are no BLE, no Bluetooth for onboarding, right? So if you think about, there was Bluetooth in the other products where we could automatically discover it using the mobile app with our phone. You could actually automatically discover those access points and bring them on the network. That's not available in the AP21. So you'd have to type in the serial number, right, or barcode, scan the device with it. And then there's the AP22. You've got also has more throughput as well than the AP21 on the 2.4 gigahertz radio. Now, the AP22D, as I mentioned, we talked about it before. It's also dual radio, 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, but it has a 2.5 uplink port connection on it. So that's great fit to go along with our 1960 switch that we talked about, right? The smart rate model. And then you've got 4 additional Ethernet ports built into the bottom of this. It's powered be a class 4 or class 6 PoE, right? And then there's also the option for DC power as well. And by the way, all of these APs have our traditional 2-year warranty on it, and I'll cover that along with the options for upgrading those as well with the support options. So as we look at the 2.5 gigabit uplink port on these, so we've got the gigabit uplink port on these in the back, and on the stand, it's actually in the back of the stand. But then we've got 4 additional Ethernet ports. Now, if you're supplying class 6 PoE to the device, then you can use 2 of those Ethernet ports to supply power to that can support power supplied to them in order to power things such as a voice over IP phone, or perhaps a printer or a badge scanner, etc., maybe security camera off those additional ports. If I'm only powering the device using class 4 power, then I can power 1 additional 15 watt device, right? And then if I'm only using AF power, which is 15 watts, then I can't use any additional ports to power any additional devices, but they could be connectivity perhaps for like a laptop or a desktop or something. So still support work as a regular switch port. And then there's our AP32. It's also a 2x2 as well, right? But it supports Wi-Fi 6E in addition to supporting Wi-Fi 6. Now, it's a dual radio model, you'll notice it says there, but I've talked about 3 bands on this product. So I've talked about 2.4, I've talked about 5 gigahertz, and I've talked about 6 gigahertz, right, which is what Wi-Fi 6E runs on. So you can only have 2 of those running at a time. So that's why it says choose only 2. Right, so you can have it running with 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, with 2.4 and 6 gigahertz, or you can have 5 gigahertz and a 6 gigahertz radio running at the same time. So this is going to be great for like future proofing. So if you think about like, you know, more modern environments, they use an example of a modern eatery or more modernized office, right? And maybe there aren't a ton of Wi-Fi 6E devices out there today, but if somebody does happen to have a Wi-Fi 6E device, then it's great because it takes it off those other spectrums. There's no interference over there, and they're able to maximize the amount of bandwidth that they're able to get going across those connections. So for modern environments, this is going to be a great fit. Even if they think there's the potential that they'll have a need for that, this is a great product to future-proof with for customers. So that's usually how I position this is, hey, you know, if you want a future-proof, but when there are more Wi-Fi 6E devices coming, this is a great product to do that with. So as we look at the instant-on Wi-Fi 6 solutions, you can see all the products that fit here, and we basically almost covered everything that we had from a Wi-Fi 5 perspective in the way of technologies and the various spatial streams, et cetera. We're pretty much done a product and product match. The only one that's left, I think that's missing is we need an outdoor model that will eventually be a future replacement for the AP17, but we pretty much hit the mark on all these other indoor models. And you can kind of mix and match these based on what the particular customer need is with the switches. So as it says here, so you can pair the Wi-Fi 6 access point, you know, with an instant-on 1830, right? So if you think about something like, you know, the AP21, where it's only got a gigabit port on it anyway, same with the AP22, you know, then maybe an 1830 is a good fit. I usually lead our recommendations with the 1930. That's where we've got the most options at. However, if they're in a scenario where they need true Wi-Fi 6E support and support for 2.5 gigabits, right, like our AP25 or the AP32, then the better fit might be that specific 1960 switch that we talked about earlier. All right, so there's a lot of flexibility in there and kind of what you can position from a switch that'll actually fit with the access points that we have. But it's nice to have options. And here's another couple of good examples here. As one of the examples I talked about earlier with the AP21, small footprint for small spaces. We can fit an 1830 or even perhaps a 1430 with the AP21. And even though it's unmanaged, the AP can still be managed in the cloud. So obviously your switch you're not going to see in the cloud, but the APs you'll still be able to see in the cloud. And it gives your customers a good low-cost option from a switch perspective and an AP perspective. And then the AP32 support for the latest devices, as I mentioned, even though not at the same level of the Wi-Fi 6 products, we're starting to see more Wi-Fi 6E products become available. And this will be a great opportunity to pair that up with the 1960 multi-gig. And then you can get, as it shows here at the bottom, so now you're able to get maximum range on 2.4 and the 6 gigahertz band. So that's another one of the benefits. And then maximum throughput if you say, hey, I don't necessarily need the 2.4 gigahertz band, or maybe you got to set on another AP there where you're doing maybe 2.4 and 5 or 6. But now you can actually have just 5 gigahertz and 6 gigahertz actually on the same AP and really taking advantage of maximizing the throughput, in which the multi-gig product would be a great fit. So why Instant On? So, same story that I've had before, the simplicity, being able to set it up using either your mobile app or the cloud-based portal using your web browser, management for our APs and our switches, the built-in security capabilities that we have around being able to block specific types of traffic and set up things like access control lists and make that real easy and simple to do for novice users, as well as advanced support for things like the latest encryption standard is WPA3. Extraordinary performance now, not with just Wi-Fi 6, but Wi-Fi 6E and with the switches with multi-gig support. There are no hidden fees with Instant On. There's no subscription, no licensing fees, right? It's a one-time hardware cost only, and that's it. And this is coming from a trusted vendor. We've done this for over 20 years. We've had proven innovation that long. You guys know, because I've talked about it in the past, this product basically evolved from our enterprise product. That's why it's such a great quality product and customers love it. And we've grown this platform tremendously over the last 5 or 6 years. Now, warranty and support options, real quick. So as I mentioned, the APs have a 2-year warranty. We always recommend enhancing that within the first 30 days. You don't get a lot of benefit for not enhancing it, but you get a lot of benefit from enhancing it. For example, your next business day turns into next business day. Actually, it is next business day arrival within the first 30 days, but then after that, it becomes kind of sporadic as to when you would actually receive the product if you were just under warranty. Your phone support is only 90 days. The chat support actually you get for that full 2 years. And then the software support you can continue to get for lifetime on the APs. But if you buy the foundation care or 3-year or 5-year options, all that gets enhanced to the next level, particularly the next business day turns into true next business day arrival for that full time period. And all those other offers around phone support, chat support, etc., go to that full 3-year or 5-year time period as well. Same thing with the switches, except the switches have a limited lifetime warranty and next business day ship on the switches. So they would not ship out the same day, but it would be the next day if there was an issue of that sort. And then 90 days, again, for phone support, lifetime for chat support, lifetime for the OS. But the big benefit is, you move to 3-year or 5-year, and it's true next business day arrival for the switching hardware, and the transceivers and the direct attach cables are covered under that warranty. Or under that service as you move forward. Otherwise, they actually only have a 3-year warranty on those. And that's pretty much it for me, Julie, unless you have questions. And something
Thank
tells
you
me
so
you do.
much. Yeah, thank you so much, Reggie, for that wonderful presentation. And I do have some questions from our audience. Let's
Great.
go to the first one. Here we go, Reggie. How does Aruba Instant on version 2.9 enhance network performance as compared to the previous version?
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily an enhancement around network performance. So we do have some other things that I didn't mention on here, like how we handle multicast type of traffic and things like that. So there is the ability to provide an optimization that way. That's probably the only one. Everything else is really more of an enhancement from a feature standpoint with 2.9.
Thank you so much, Reggie. Let's go on to the next question here. Are the new VLAN management options available in Aruba Instant on version 2.9?
Yes. And they've actually always been there. If you're talking about what I was talking about earlier around being able to, so if I set up if I set up an SSID, let's say for the employees, it sits me on my default VLAN. But then if I set up another one for guests, once I set it up for guests on the Wi-Fi side, it automatically propagates those VLANs down to those switches for that particular environment in order to segment those guests onto a different network. So yes, I
Thank
think
you
that's
so much
probably
for
what they're
that.
asking about.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Reggie. Here we go. Next question here says, has there been any focus on energy efficiency or power management enhancements in this version?
Yeah, so a lot of that has to do with what I talked about earlier, so which was the scheduler. Right. So being able to PoE schedule, I talked about it from a security aspect, but that's also, a power savings benefit as well, being able to kind of shut those ports off when you'd like to. So yeah, that's the other benefit.
Excellent. Thank you. Couple
Good
more
question.
questions. Are there any changes to the user authentication methods supported in Aruba Instant on version 2.9?
No changes to that. If they're talking about like multi-factor authentication, we actually made a change a couple of releases ago in which we made it a little bit, trying to think of the right way to phrase this. I guess we made it a little bit tougher to reset it, I guess is how I would put it, but otherwise, no.
Thank you so much. Couple more questions here. How does the version handle firmware rollback or recovery in case of issues during an update?
Yeah, so there's really not. I mean, we really are in control of that from a firmware upgrade standpoint. There's really not any ability to roll back. I mean, the next thing was just if we found a particular issue, is you'd see a hot patch or a fix for that solution. But there's no rollback because technically there's nothing that can actually be controlled by the user. It's actually we are. I mean, I don't know. It sounds kind of bad, but it's not a bad thing. But we're in charge of the firmware releases.
Sounds good. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Reggie. Last question here for you. How does one access the API gateway?
No, there is no API gateway
Okay.
with Instant on, or I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they may be referring to if they're talking about maybe if they actually mean that, if they're talking about the AP22D functioning as a way. I'm not sure. Or maybe they're talking about maybe going to a portal. I'm not sure I understand that question, Julie. Sorry.
No problem. No problem at all. Thank you, Reggie, for answering all of those questions for us today. And thank you to everyone who has been attending today's webinar. And if you have any further questions, of course, please feel free to contact your sales rep or email us at sales@microcomtech.com. And if you wish to view any of the products mentioned or shown here today, please make sure to check it out on our recording, because all of our webinars are recorded and uploaded to our Microcom YouTube channel, so we can all view it again and see all this valuable information that Reggie always shares with us. Reggie, thank you very, very much. We appreciate you and look forward to the next webinar. Everybody, have a fantastic day.
Thanks, Julie. Bye, guys.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.